Welcome back to another episode of the Badass Motherfucker Podcast. Today, we get to talk to Rowan Funes, a night shift ER nurse from the island of Maui in Hawaii. Rowan started in the Air Force right out of high school. Then he became a CDL truck driver before becoming a nurse in the PCU. PCU stands for Progressive Care Unit, and it's a step down from the ICU. For example, if you ever end up in the ICU and you start to feel better, they'll move you to the PCU where you won't need as much intensive care. From there, he finally transitioned over to the ER in May of 2020 when COVID was in full effect. We talk about how important it is to have food during night shift, what it takes to be a badass motherfucking healthcare worker, and what it was like to work in the ER during the Maui fires.
So everybody, we have Rowan Funes.
What's up, guys?
On the mic. I don't know if you've read the comments that your coworkers wrote handwritten for you.
Yeah.
We had over a dozen explaining what a badass motherfucker you are for your emergency room. The thing that caught my eye the most was how many comments there were about how much you loved to cook for your staff.
Well, I'm a little fluffy guy to begin with. So no, I've always loved cooking, and I'm the kind of guy too that when I bring in food, I want to make sure everybody's fed. So
because you work night shift, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm a hardcore night shifter.
What are your hours?
We do 7 to 7:30 here.
7:30 to 8 p.m. was my shift. But to have food in the break room in the middle of the night is so crucial and important.
Oh man, it's crucial.
It's crucial. It's everything.
So on Maui, we're such a small island, small community. The only places open after 9 p.m. almost pretty much is McDonald's and Jack in the Box. So you really have to plan for night shift. We don't have a night shift cafeteria. We don't have anything because our hospital is not set up for that kind of stuff. We don't have that huge amount of employees that would, I guess, support that, or I don't know why. But so yeah, you really have to plan your food and make sure you got everything set up for that night.
So you work with your wife in the same ER?
No, so my wife is a PCU nurse, so she works.
Oh, she is right. That's right.
She works on the floor upstairs. Yeah, that's actually where I worked before transitioning to the ER. I transitioned in May 2020, right during COVID, and prior to that, I know, right? Prior to that, I was PCU for 6 years.
May of 2020, full COVID was in full swing.
Yeah, it was full swing. There's experiences that I only now have got to experience in the ER that I didn't because I started during COVID. Like, I never got to experience or had to deal with family members at the bedside for like the first year and a half I was in the ER, unless it was like obviously a minor, that kind of thing, a PEDS patient. I didn't realize how nice that was until the families are kind of come back now. So that was a whole transition for me.
Yeah.
And then, it was interesting. I didn't know, especially day shift, I didn't know a lot of people's faces for like a year in, because everybody always wore masks, and I'd see them on the outside and they were like, "Hey, Rowan," and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, hey, hi," like, didn't even know who they were, and it's just kind of interesting kind of stuff. I went out of high school into the Air Force, and then did 4 years, came home, worked for the family business, driving truck, a CDL driver, and then I went from that into nursing. So I had kind of interesting kind of progression.
Oh yeah, you had a whole life before that.
Yeah. So I got into nursing because my daughter is nonverbal autistic. So I kind of been taking care of her. She's 23 now, but kind of been taking care of her whole life, and missed the camaraderie of the military. And I think nursing really fit that role. Like, burns things together. We got each other's backs. And that's what I really love. I really love the the job satisfaction, of working in the ER, fixing people, discharging them. You don't get that on the floor.
Yeah, because you get to see them come in and then leave, right? You get to see like the full, yeah. That's nice. Everybody
laughs when they heard I drove truck for 6 years, paving and all that. Like, how did you get into nursing? Well,
Yeah. Oh, you drive trucks by yourself. We needed your energy around people.
Yeah.
Doing isolated.
I hated that, man. Being by myself all the time. That's one of the reasons why I decided to go into nursing. Using my GI Bill and went to Florida. Florida was cheaper to go to nursing school, so stayed out there for a few years and then came back home. So
you started at one of the craziest times in the ER.
Yeah.
Did they ask you to come to the ER? Were they needing nurses, or was this something you've always wanted?
I was in PCU from 2015 at that point, so it was I guess 5 years, and I was ready for something different.
Your other coworkers wrote amazing things too. I think one of the ones I remember was they described you as the most proficient ER nurse they've ever worked with. And I just kind of wanted to ask you, like, do you agree? Like, how did you become such a proficient ER nurse, do you think?
I don't know if I'm super proficient. I laugh at myself because people laugh because even though I'm a bit on the bigger side, like I am probably one of the, like, I'm fast walking everywhere. Like, they always think that there's a code in my room because I don't just walk out of my room to grab something. I'm just fast walking and getting things done. And as far as, I guess, proficiency, everybody kind of teases me that I can spin out at times. Like, I'm like, oh, I gotta go here, gotta go there. Like, I'm just going so fast that I'm just spinning sometimes. I tell everybody, like, I'm definitely not the best nurse, but I'm gonna try and be the hardest working nurse. And I think at the end of the day, that especially in the ER, that's one of the most important, aspects that you can have as a ER nurse is we don't expect you to be the best. I mean, there's nurses smarter than me. I mean, I can't even off the top of my head. Like, Johnny's a solid nurse. There's Jordan, there's Becky, there's, as far as our night crew, we got a lot of really good experienced nurses that, yeah, better nurse than I am. No more. I've only been there 3 years. They've been there like longer, but I'll keep up with them with the hustle. And hustle is important. Like,
yeah,
when we get a new nurse or new grad nurse, they're like, what kind of tips? I'm like, you know what? We can forgive a lot if you hustling. Obviously, be safe. Don't kill your patient, but hustling is the most. I'm sure you're the same. If you're in a pod with someone and you're like working twice as fast as the other person that's experienced also, but like not as keeping up with you, like you feel it. This is like, come on, bro, you're not new. You're just making it hard on all of us. So proficiency. I mean, I try to get my stuff done fast. Patient sitting in the bed. Especially if it's bread and butter stuff. I know I can anticipate orders. I know it's what we're going. I'll get everything done, get the workup done, boom, sent off, and then I'm checking my orders on other patients again, making sure nothing's dropped. I'm just continuously checking orders. We have a very good culture, at least on night shift, or where end of the week. I work end of the week, by the way, too. So I'm locked in kind of on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I get that Friday, Saturday fun every week.
Yeah.
So to add, more
some of the craziest nights. I mean, outside of Monday, right?
right.
The Friday, Saturday crowd is like a different beast.
So in our pods, we have a night shift. It closed out to 2 pods, and we are very supportive of podding with each other. So like, even if my stuff is done, I'm scanning their orders and their patients. Patients got to go CT, or we got to do another lab, and without even, we back each other up. Like, if they see I'm engaged and she sees my patient needs to go to CT, they automatically send, they'll take them to CT for me, and vice versa. If, there's we got to do a next draw for another lab. I got it. There's med orders. I already passed your med. And we just continuously do that to cover each other nonstop. So that's a culture that I notice is a little different from like when the travelers come, because we're in a small island. Eventually at night, if it's a okay night, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, we can be down to just, maybe half of each pod full of patients. Like, we're not always maxed out like you guys are in the mainland. So I noticed the travel nurses, I think because you guys always have someone in a bed, you guys are more kind of like pace, because it's probably burnout. I don't blame them, because you just continuously have patients. But I'm like, guys, let's get the workup done. Let's get them done. And, we can discharge, and, we won't have just patients sitting in beds all the time.
It's definitely a different culture. And because I will say, what's been happening recently with a lot of these ER units that I've been going around the country traveling, doing comedy shows. I've been talking to a lot of these nurses, and what's happening is they're getting a lot more travelers. They're getting a lot more travel nurses, and I think it's really hard to have a unit full of travel nurses because, first of all, you haven't worked with them very long, so you haven't built a rapport with them. An ER like you've worked with everybody for a long time. You've built a relationship. You see how each other work. You feel more obligated to help out because this is a person who you've worked with for a long time, and you care for them. As opposed to when a traveler comes in, they're here to get the contract done. They just want to go home. They're here to do the job. So they kind of stick with their assignment. First of all, they don't know how much to give, and they don't want to get taken advantage of. If they give too much, maybe they get taken advantage of.
Right. They're trying to figure it out. And that takes time. Usually it's like a month in before they kind of figure out the vibe of the place. And the other thing too is because we're kind of more of a critical access hospital, like our ER, we do everything. So, we have peds, we're doing traumas, we're doing, where I know there's more specialized ERs in the bigger areas in the mainland. So when they come in, they're like, we got peds patients. We got a trauma coming in, and, we don't have like dedicated trauma teams. Like whoever is up gets the trauma. Like anybody can get the trauma, that kind of
Oh,
thing.
really? It's not,
yeah.
it's not designated trauma.
No.
Everybody in your ER is trained to work with trauma
Yeah.
patients.
Yeah, everybody. We're all very kind of, even though our hospital's small, we're very well rounded as ER nurses. I think anyway. I mean, I haven't worked anywhere else ER, but
Yeah.
so we take everything. Now the super critical traumas, depending on what's wrong, we do fly out to our level 1 trauma in Oahu, Queens. If they're really bad burns, go to Straub, and also we do fly out some stuff. The really sick peds will get flown out also. We got to stabilize. They don't just fly them out straight. So
Yeah.
they come.
Oh my God. Yeah. But that's so nice to hear that like you guys have such a strong. It sounds like you guys have such a strong sense of community in your ER. Which again, I'm telling you, it's not the case in a lot of ERs these days.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, we get
not
together. We barbecue. We're doing. One of my coworkers is having a bachelor party, and instead of like doing the traditional bachelor party, we're getting a couple of cabins out on the backside of the island and gonna do like a surfing, fishing, bachelor party with like 10, 12 of us guy ER nurses.
Guy ER nurses.
Yeah, so I guess if you're sick, you'd be in that part of the island that weekend.
They're there. 12 nurses ready to go.
Ready to go, man. As far as the travelers go, though, we appreciate them. As long as they're nice people, we get along great with them. We tend to welcome them great. I mean, we usually get good feedback from travelers. Like, you guys are awesome. You guys are very welcoming.
Especially if your ER is the way that you describe it, as a traveler coming in, you would love to work there. It sounds like you guys have a great system. They're gonna get help. They're gonna get food. I mean, you're coming into an environment that's very friendly and like not hostile.
Right,
a lot of these places where they go travel, I don't think it's the same way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, especially if you're during COVID when they were getting all that high pay, and I know there's a lot of places that were kind of being a little mean to the travelers, but I felt like we maintained civility with them, and we're super welcoming and thankful that they were there.
Yeah.
And as far as staff wise, we got solid staff in the ER. We got really good coworkers. Just problems like any other ER. Definitely, probably not not the most organized at times, and being a small hospital, but we got really, really good workers, and that makes a difference. And I don't think admin understands especially with the ER nurses, is it takes a while to train them. When you lose staff, and when you get graduate nurses and new staff, a lot of them don't pass orientation because they find out it's not for them, or that level of just high stress and anxiety, they can't learn how to manage it. And
yes,
so a lot of times the graduate nurses, we won't get maybe 3 out of 5 will pass, or so just to refill these slots is so hard. And
yeah, because they're not always getting someone like you who's been a nurse for a while in other units and just ready to come to the ER and
they
ass.
tease me on that too. There's certain things that were like more floor related. It's just like, oh, Rowan, we got a CBI for you. I'm like, okay, stuff like that. They're always laughing because I'm like, yeah, I know all the CBI tricks and all the different floor level tricks. Fine, let's do it. NG tubes, like I know we throw a lot of them in.
You're so good at it. Just come do it.
No,
yeah. I guess there was a situation where your friend Kyle, who nominated you, I guess he had a patient who turned combative and violent really fast. And you, before he could even turn around and say anything, you were there, B-52 shot in hand, ready to help with this guy. Is that something like you're aware of for yourself? Like, are you always, your head's just always on a swivel? You're just down to help all the time?
I'm always down to help. Like, they need me in a different pod to help with IVs, anything, Foley's. Like I said, I'm always kind of glancing at orders so I can kind of anticipate, and for basic workups, you're a nurse, you can kind of anticipate. So I kind of know what's the next step, and I just kind of wait for it. And as far as just being situational awareness, our pods it's not super long. It's like each of our pods is kind of like a horseshoe. So I just always, if I'm on the computer or whatever, I'm always within like 20 foot of a patient in a way, and I'm just keeping my ears open. Another thing that we have that you're going to be super jealous of, because from all the travelers I've heard, this is not a thing in the mainland, is we have a dedicated psych nurse, and we have like 2 dedicated ISO psych rooms, and we have a couple of psych beds. And Kyle is actually a dedicated psych nurse. and all he manages is psych patients. So we don't never have to manage psych patients.
Whoa,
Right?
that is new.
Right? You're like,
Oh,
what? Everybody, all the ER
interesting.
nurses watching this, the comments are going to be like, what? We got to do
You
it.
have
It's
a
like,
designated psych nurse
yeah, we do. Yep.
in the ER because I worked at Stanford. We've had designated pharmacists, we've had designated phlebotomists. Yeah, we've never had a designated psych nurse.
And you know what? It works great because they know all the ins and outs on what's available for rehab beds, what's available for, you know what I mean? So they just focus on these type of patients. And I mean, up to the point, like if someone comes in for like an overdose, as soon as they're medically cleared, we just roll them over to the psych nurse and he manages everything else from then on.
That's the best for the patient and for you guys.
For us, I know whenever we don't have one, like if there's a schedule conflict or they called out and couldn't get, and we're like, oh man.
That's one thing about the ER I don't think people understand. Like a lot of the patient population that we get in the ER are psych patients, and which is why it's so necessary now to have a designated psych nurse.
Oh, absolutely. And it causes chaos, like especially when they're all scattered throughout the ER. Like our psych area is kind of in one area by the psych nurse. It's like in a little corner next to the 2 psych rooms. And having them all in one area is much better also because you can watch them better. If you have to have a sitter for any one-to-ones, his aid and tech is all within the area of the patient. So we don't have to we can have one almost because they're visual watching, 2 or 3 versus like you got to get a sitter for this patient in bed 9 and this patient across the hall and this patient. So it kind of just really compartmentalizes psych and it makes the ER, I think, flow better. We don't have random crazy patients scattered throughout the ER causing issues. And
you usually in the hallways because we're not like you guys. Most of the ERs I worked with, we haven't exactly found the best way to handle this patient population. So they're usually in like the hallways in the far corner near an exit, which is stupid.
Yeah, I know. Right? It's like exactly.
This is not the best way to deal with these people.
No.
That's amazing. Yeah, no. It's like designated psych.
That's one thing we got in California. I know you guys are the golden land of nursing, but it's like, oh, we got one thing. We got a psych in the ER.
Definitely caught that on us. I guess it's the same in where you are in Maui. Then you have a lot of behavioral health patients, a lot of mental.
Yeah, we do, and a lot of our patients also is not local. They're not from here. Like we have a lot of vagrants that are from the mainland, from California, from the West Coast. And, we got great weather here. We got a lot of, stuff, benefits and stuff for them. And they get over here and then, our resources are so limited because we're a small island and we're having to focus our resources on helping them. And, a lot of it's drug related, a lot of it's mental health, in whatever ways is from, schizophrenia to down the spectrum. And they come in quite often and we're having to kind of retreat, and just never ending cycle. And obviously like any place else, we have drug problems also, we have a lot of meth in the streets and those cause their own little issues. So yeah, we do have a lot of increasing violent, the violence has increased exponentially since I even think I started 3 years ago. People they're not as patient. They're just more aggressive. We're having to call security a lot more. We're having to medically, I don't know if you guys, you probably do, but I think I said B-52s and we're having to do that quite often in the ER. And it's bad.
Yeah, that's so interesting because a nurse I spoke to from Ottawa, Illinois, close to Chicago in the United States, said the exact same thing you just said. That for some reason, the patients have gotten more violent. They've become more impatient over the past few years. Very recently, we couldn't figure it out, but maybe you have some insight. Like, is there any reason you think why it's happening now?
I don't know. Initially, it's been now a little while since COVID. I feel like people have kind of gotten over it a little bit. Things are back to normal. But initially, I was thinking that it could have been more PTSD related, anxiety related from COVID. I know now when people get sick, they get a sore throat or they get, flu symptoms. We definitely have a lot of more influx coming through the triage and lobby to be just, checked out because of the fear of what COVID caused. But as far as them getting more angry, I don't know why it is. Since I became a nurse in graduated 2014, so I started end of that year. I felt since then it just got potentially we just continuously, the graph is going up on aggression, violence. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's more increased in mental health. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
we're lucky here because, Hawaii, we're a melting pot. I know you guys are kind of like that in California also, but we're a big melting pot in Hawaii with all the different, people come to work the plantations and stuff like that. And, especially our local patients, they're very stoic. They're very kind of Asian, Japanese style, like stoicism. Like they don't ask you for it too much. It's almost like you got to go check them. Like, are you okay? Because you haven't checked,
Oh my
God.
God.
It's like total opposite. And so they're great patients, and for the most part, our local patients are great. They're respectful. Most of it is the tourists and the mainlanders.
Yeah. You mentioned you get a lot of tourists as patients.
Oh, tons of tourists. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you saw the videos of our rental cars that are parked right now because the island kind of got shut down from tourism. It is mind-boggling to see actually how much extra cars is on the road because you don't notice. I mean, you notice the extra traffic, but to see them just parked, like thousands of cars just parked in a field, it's like, Jesus, all these cars is on the road usually with all these tourists make up roughly like 1/3 of our population, like continuously. Like maybe the island is 170,000 people and we'll have like 20, 30,000 tourists on any given day. So yeah. And you get people, they're like, yeah, well, doctor said, I went in and they said that one of my labs are up on my heart, but we've had this trip planned and paid for like a year now. And, we couldn't not come. And so, meanwhile they're having a heart attack, MI right there. Like we get those a lot. It's like,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's
but I thought I was feeling better.
It's like, dude, you should have stayed home.
Yeah, you should
have stayed home.
It's like, oh man, it's like, you're away from your hospitals. A lot of bucket list people, which those I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. like maybe they're terminal or they're fighting the cancer, but they're on chemo, so they're ended up coming in for neutropenic fever, stuff like that. Well, they're traveling, and so we get a lot of those too. Which I'm like, okay, this might be your last time you want to come see Maui.
Yeah,
different reason. Or we got the so one of our mountains is 10,000 feet elevation, Haleakala. It's a big volcano. There's this tour that you can ride the bike down the volcano. So they come down on a windy road, 10,000 feet, from 10,000 feet elevation to sea level. And of course, Linda from Indiana hasn't rode a bike in 30 years, and she's now 60 and retired, and just as her retirement party, like, hey, we're gonna go to Maui, and she rides down the volcano, loses control of her bike. We get those a lot. Like people just do the funniest, most craziest things on vacation that they don't normally do. They're like, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's do this now.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Oh my God,
So,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right. Like these people who are retired, who are now just trying to like finally live the life they were trying to live, that they should have,
yeah.
some of these experiences that were younger are now probably bungee jumping, riding bikes.
We don't have any bungee jumping, but we got everything else, man. We got, we got the parasailing. We got what else is just the beach in general, because a lot of them don't understand the ocean. One of our beaches on Maui, I think, is ranked number 1 in the state for spinal cord injuries. So
yeah, you know
those.
what? I think with one of your coworkers, Lauren, talked about it as she said that. Yeah, one of the main injuries is spinal cord injuries from waves, which I didn't even think about that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it's one of the beaches. It's actually called the local name is Big Beach. I'm sure there's a Hawaiian name. I'm not sure of but we call it Big Beach, and it's got a gnarly shore break. So when the waves are coming in, it's just the angle and the way the shoreline recedes. It creates like it kind of a lift, and it really slams you to the ground. And when they go out, they don't think, because there's all different beaches in the world, and maybe they're used to more of, either a gentler beach or something different. But it slams you, and when you don't know the ocean, anyone's first reaction is going to be to like stiffen up, or like, when they're getting slammed, and you actually have to do complete opposite. You have to go completely loose as possible, let it slam you, and just kind of roll with it, And so what they do is they tense up and they get scared, and then, they do like that, and it ends up, they end up with spinal fractures. And I think we're like in the 1 year we had, I don't know how much it was. I think we're like in the 40s or 50s over like the last few years. With spinal cord injuries from that one beach. I think we lead the state. We're leading the state. I haven't checked in a while, but
that is so scary. You've heard it here first, guys. Tips from Rowan, the Maui ER. If you're in the ocean and a wave is coming at you hard, do not stiffen up. Get loose and just roll with it.
Roll with it. Just No matter what, it feel like eternity, but you'll be able to get up in 10, 15 seconds at the worst case scenario. Usually it's just a few seconds. Just hold your breath, roll with it, and yeah, you'll be fine. Just don't panic.
The other thing you said that was so interesting that I forgot to touch on was that I guess a lot of the patients you get are tourists from the mainland, and that they are the worst patients, because you said that the patients you guys get who are from your island are very,
most of the time,
respectful and stoic, and won't ask for anything unless they absolutely need it.
Yep.
And I think that's so funny, because that is kind of our reputation everywhere in the world. We're not the greatest of people. We're a little rude. We're very selfish. We're very in our own world. So if anybody out there is listening to this, just know that the stereotypes about us are true, and we need to stop.
Yeah, I mean, my initial nursing career, I actually went to school in Florida, and so my first life as a nurse was a Florida nurse, which I'm sure you've talked. Yeah, it's like one of the worst nursing cultures in the country to work at.
Oh, really?
I just
Why
feel
is that?
Oh yeah, Florida's just awful.
Why is that?
There's essentially no ratios. It all depends on the hospital. They try to cut back as much as they can on everything. Like, I think my unit was like high 30s, maybe 40 beds. I can't remember exactly how much it was in Florida, but we'd have like 2, maybe 3 techs on day shift, and they'd have 1 or 2 techs at night. On a PCU floor, we were like 4 and 5 to 1 ratio PCU, which is supposed to be 3. California's 3. Here we're 3. Our hospital does a good job, and Hawaii in general does a good job of. We don't have a law like California on ratios, but they do actually, I think, a pretty good job at keeping the ratios in spirit. Like, we match you guys for the most part on ratios. But yeah, there's nothing like that in Florida. It's just, I mean, you hit the ground running. I was a brand new nurse, so like 12 weeks of orientation on PCU, and it's trial by fire. It's just throw you in the deep end and like, okay, here you go. And you hear this a lot from a lot of Florida nurses.
And see, that's the culture I'm talking about with like a lot of these East Coast hospitals without the ratios, because then it really becomes every man for themselves, because you don't have time to help anybody else, right? You're worried about your own assignments at that point. Like, there's no way. You have no time to. You have no resources to help you. You're kind of on your own. The ratios are like insane. So that's kind of the culture I was talking about, like where most of these nurses are coming from. I was the same way. Any nurse who came from the East Coast to work in California, mind blown.
Oh yeah,
that there are ratios, that they get breaks, and they end up staying. They're not traveling anymore.
Oh yeah. I think in a way it was good. Like that was my first experience. I mean, thank God nobody died and all that stuff, but because their level of appreciation you have, and compared to like maybe a nurse that never experienced that. Not that maybe it's a good thing never to experience that, I don't know. But when I started working at this hospital on the PCU floor, I appreciated, we have great aides, a lot of them said older Filipino nanas that the patient's always super clean, your room's clean, they're such super hard workers. They feed you. Like, at night they're like, Rowan, you want to have some? Here, come eat.
I know, right? They treat you like family.
Yeah, they do.
It's so sweet.
And we're very spoiled. We are very good, hard workers. Just all of that in general combined to this, like, wow, this is real. Nursing can be like this. Like, because, I'd be in Florida and I would never, my whole 12-hour shift, I would never feel like I was above water. I'd just be like trying to get above the surface the whole shift, because there's just so many things you gotta do, procedures. Oh, and and in the mainland especially, they're really about keeping that bed full. So it's like, just discharge one, get another one. Wait, I haven't even get this yet. Oh, got procedures. Then your PCU. So for the procedures, like someone needs to go with them. It's like they can't go to MRI, they can't go to CT, and it's like, oh my goodness, and it's like, it's just, you just never can catch up.
That reminds me, it was so annoying in the ER when, as soon as a patient's like, so we have colors that designate like where the patient sat in their care. Like red is, I think they just got there.
Right. Yeah. We got that.
Light green is like they're ready to be discharged. And
right.
Like, the different colors mean different things, right? Blue means, okay, they're here. We're just waiting for orders. Mm-hmm. So whenever there was a patient who was highlighted green on the chart, if they weren't discharged fast enough, somebody would call down. Management would call down. They're not even in the ER. They're not even in the ER. Somebody called out and be like, hey, can you get rid of this patient? We have a full waiting room. I'm like, bitch, are you even down here? Like, you know what's going on?
You know what's going on? We're finishing this bolus, or we're,
we're freaking drowning down here. That's their mentality. Like, get them out. Get more patients in. And as soon as the patient's gone, it's not highlight green, it's gray, right? We're getting
Right,
clean.
right.
We got to call down again. Hey, can you clean that bed and put this patient from the waiting room into the room? I'm like, where
That would
are
be
you?
so irritating.
It was so annoying, right? They're not even there. They're just looking at the chart, waiting for you to get discharge patient, clean the patient, and put this patient from the waiting room into the room. Like
That person needs to get office down in the ER, and they need to be assisting if that's the case. Like, go in the room, go clean it. Like, what?
Right?
That is irritating. Like, especially for your charge nurse and stuff. Like, who I'm sure is doing a great job at managing the flow, and it's like that micromanaging and stuff is just unreal.
Yeah, because it gets to them too. Like they get like the charge nurse gets the calls, and now the charge nurse is talking to me, and they're micromanaging me. Like it just trickles down.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The frustration just trickles down.
You just stabilize a stroke, or you just and it's like, can you just give me a second? Like I know.
Yeah.
Like we're all doing this for a living. I know what to do. There's a reason why they're still there. I'm not slack. It's like, yeah, and it feels like they're questioning your ability to, your hustle.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. And that's what irritates me more, because I take pride with like making sure my shit's covered, and like I said, I'm not the best nurse, but I try my best,
It can get so frustrating. But luckily for you guys, man, like if I'm frustrated, I'll go to the break room and get a bowl of freaking chili. And make myself feel better. That was one of the other recipes on the list that you like to make.
That's my Portuguese chili, man. It's got spam in it. It's got spam. It's got pork and beans. It's got all kinds of stuff in that thing. They just love the crap out of that. But everybody's got kind of their dish they like to do. That's kind of my thing, chili, and do a couple of other things. Like my wife also will make stuff, like I said, and then like Becky has her like super good salsa and a couple of other dishes that she does. She does a good British salsa.
Yeah,
Johnny rocks the rice, man. That's his thing. Johnny would be like, "I got the rice, boys."
You got the rice. Great.
We got rice,
Johnny.
man. We can't function without rice. There's no we don't do bread. We don't do potatoes, mashed potato. It's got to be rice.
It feels so much like a nice little like family dinner. What you guys put together. You go to someone's house, you bring potlucks.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I got pictures of it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We'll fill up every table with something.
Again, it's so important to have that sense of community, especially what's been going on with you guys over there. Like, I can't imagine.
Yeah, we just had that that big fire, and it's been kind of a journey since then.
Did you guys have MCI, mass casualties incident policies and training ever?
It's always kind of, at least on some level, we've had that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually reorganizing our emergency managed response and procedures and everything. Ironically, like I started hearing a little bit more. Oh, we have a meeting, blah blah blah. A couple of weeks coming up to that fire, and the fire was just kind of a random thing. And I think for how small our ER was, we did the best we could. But what made the logistics extra hard is the location of the fire. There's a 2-lane cliff road that gives us access to that area of the island, and parts of that road coming out was where the fire were, or the smoke was, so they weren't letting people access the area, and it was just kind of a logistic nightmare that ended up, I don't know, it's easy to, hindsight's 2020, it's easy to kind of give criticism on government response and everything, but there definitely was a lot of issues with government response to the fire, during the fire. I'm sure you guys seen and heard a lot of things regarding that.
When you were working at the ER, you knew it was happening, but you weren't getting the patients because there was...
So we got some. So the fire started towards the afternoon, and before the road closed down, we did have people come out, and medics were able to get out with patients. I actually was off that night, and then we got the text, code triage, if anybody could come in. So I went in to help, and
of course you did.
Yeah. It's just like I said, small community, a lot of us went in, a lot of us that got the call, we all went in. We got there, people were, for a small ER, I think there were like a few people intubated, we couldn't fly people out because of the winds initially. So, because our burn center is on Oahu, Straub, they specialize in burns. We had issues with that initially. And then, medics were dropping off, they were dropping off a couple of patients at a time, and they were coming through the front lobby, and it was just managing that, remembering burn protocol to that level for everybody. A lot of sad stories. We had seniors in the water for like 4 hours, just very old seniors, and just totally shocked. swimming. One swam for a couple of hours after they got in the water, just trying to find a place, and in their 70s, you know.
Yeah.
Just that level of just coming in. And then we had different waves. Like I felt like every time we're about to, I was like, okay, maybe we caught up. Because see, at this point, because all the towers were down, like there was no communication. No one knew what the heck was going on in Lahaina. There was no cell phone coverage. There was no nothing. All we had was a two-way radio for the Midcom, and even though that was kind of staticky at times. And so we had staff members that were working on day shift that lived in Lahaina, couldn't drive out home with their wife and kids out there, and they had no communication. They didn't know if their house was burnt down. They didn't know anything. They didn't know if their wife was okay, their kids were okay, you know. And, you know, talk about heroes. I mean, you know, a couple of them were helping us in the ER. They worked all day shift, and just to keep their mind busy because they had nothing they could do, and they didn't want to just like sit down and think about it. They helped us in the ER, and you know,
that's
and like
so
I said,
scary.
we had other staff that like completely lost all their housing, lost family members, you know, staff hospital wide, not just in the ER.
Yeah.
And it's unreal. I mean, like you think about it, you don't even think it's real. It's just like this is a movie, or I don't know if that's appropriate to say, but it's just this boggles your mind. Like, you know, like this is really happening. So we didn't know. So I just kept, you know, as soon as I kind of settled things down, you know, maybe I was there already from 5:30 to like 1 in the morning, and I was like, okay, things look like it's kind of settled a little bit. Maybe I'll kind of head out, because we did have a lot of staff. And then like something else, like burns are coming through the lobby, like bad burns, and we're like, Jesus, you know. So we settled that guy and, you know, person, and then and it's just kept going. And then towards the morning we started to hear how severe, as the patients were coming in, they're like, Lahaina town's completely burned down. We're like, what? You know, it's because Lahaina is one of the, how could I say this, one of the main culturally important areas in the island. It's a big blow. It'll be like, for Maui, it'll be like, I don't know what's a big blow to you guys who's in California, but it'd be like one of your main historical areas, monuments that means a lot to the people of California, just completely gone, you know. And
oh my God, I'm so
a lot
sorry.
of post PTSD, and now we're starting to see that a little bit. You know, a lot of anxiety. Patients coming in at night, like from Lahaina, for whatever symptoms, like, you know, oh, my heart racing and that kind of stuff, coming to find out I have to work them up that is, you know, there's a lot of PTSD, anxiety from the fire. And then what we're starting to find out, and I got this from multiple coworkers, same story as me, but a lot of them don't want to drive back at night. They're scared, or they don't want to go back at night. So we've been, you know, if the ER is not busy, we've been letting them just kind of hang out in the bed till the morning, trying to be sympathetic and, you know, help them, you know, kind of through what they're going through. We're starting to see more anxiety, more people coming into BH, just maybe they were managing up until now, and they had like, you know, emotional break, that kind of thing. And but, you know, our people are strong, our community out there for each other. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the videos and everything of how our community came together, and even government wasn't even a thing, and there were people on jet skis and boats taking stuff out there, you know. Brother helping brother, sister helping sister. It's amazing how everybody came together.
That's amazing. And I've seen the footage. I've seen a lot of the stuff. It's so sad. So I cannot even imagine what it's like, you know, to have something that I own is something that I've worked on for my entire life, and my home where I've lived for my entire life just be gone. So grateful for, you know, you and your community, the ER, you know, helping everybody there. It must have been hard, just because I think, are you guys the closest ER to Lahaina?
We are the only ER.
You're the only ER.
We're at the point where we're probably too small now for the island in some ways. Like, our hospital most of the time, census is always maxed most of the time. You know, we're having to hold in the ER, and, you know, we probably could use like one additional floor in the hospital to try to relieve the pressure. But we're the only ER. We are 45 minutes to an hour, if the roads are good, from parts of Lahaina by medic transport. And we're the only game in town. We have like a little tiny ER up on the other part of the island in Kula, but that's more of for like lacerations and UTIs, and like they don't have a CT there.
It's like an urgent care.
It's like a kind of an urgent. They call it ER, but it's kind of urgent care, but
it's like a clinic.
It's like critical access. Yeah, So at least people, but that relieves from pressure off of us, though. At least
Yeah.
people can go there with their broken fingers or, those kind of stuff, little lacerations, and get fixed up and don't have to bog us down more. But I was chatting before I got on with you with one of my coworkers, and she's a Lahaina resident, born and raised there. Her family members, I think they lost. She was saying that 5 or 6 homes from her family members all gone. Her home is okay, but she was mentioning that it's the post stuff too. Like, it's for her just to come into work and try to like keep everything normal in her mind. She says every time she hears the medcom goes off, she gets a little bit tense, and it's wondering like, oh, hopefully everything's okay, her kids are okay, and without even thinking about it, like it triggers every single time. So it's a lot of that post PTSD is still there, and people are trying to work their way through it the best they can, and there's lots of love, lots of aloha, that kind of thing. It's all we can do for each other, and
that's
can help.
I mean, that's so great, man. I mean, I'm it's not great that any of that happened, but just,
right.
again, like the way you guys support each other, hearing how you let your coworkers stay at the hospital because they're afraid to drive home at night. It's just something we don't think about, but it's such a real problem.
Well, see, it's not the coworkers, but the patients. The coworkers, I think we're a little bit more stoic, but yeah, the patients, they come in with a lot of anxiety, and
Even the patients, yeah,
it's the patients that
it's
having
the
a hard
patients.
time. Yeah, it's the patients.
Oh,
Yeah. They're coming in with like, oh, like having palpitations or chest pain or that kind of thing, but it ends up, maybe being fire related, stress related, and then they don't want to go home. It's like, okay, we'll work with you. We're trying to be kind, trying to help our community. So if we can.
Man, and again, I cannot imagine, because if you guys, I thought there might have been another ER on the island, but if you guys are the only ER, you literally got everything that came out of there.
Oh yeah, the whole ER smelled like just smoke, and we had like literally everybody came to the ER.
Yeah,
so.
I haven't worked with a lot of burn victims, but I do remember my first hospital job. I had gotten something on my scrubs, and I had to get new scrubs, and the hospital scrubs that you can get were upstairs on the burn unit. So I got something on my scrubs. I took the elevator up to the burn unit, and as soon as the elevators opened, there was a certain smell that is associated with the burn unit that I could never forget.
Yeah.
It was just something I never forgot.
It's gotta be a mix of like smoke mixed with antiseptic, I bet, from like all the treatments. And I can imagine. I've never been on a burn unit, but I just can think about what it would be like. And I much props. Like, people say, "Wow, you're ER nurse, this, that." I'm like, people say you're a burn unit nurse. I'm like, okay, like mad respect. I can't imagine doing that. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Just the hours of dressing changes.
Oh my gosh,
can be
and just dealing with the mental, emotional aspects and the trauma of that, and we know that they don't get because of the nature of the injury. There's no good pain coverage, so it's like, I mean, I can't imagine every single day you're doing that.
Again, I'm so sorry, but it sounds like you guys are doing a great job trying to keep it together, trying to help out the community.
A lot of people, they're trying.
And I just want to say, man, like, again, from the comments from your coworkers and everybody who said anything about you, I just want you to know what a positive impact you, Rowan, have on your community and the ER that you work at, man. They love and appreciate you so much for everything that you do. The food, the jokes, the lighthearted humor, everything you do, man. They love you for it. So you're doing a great job.
Thanks, man. I just do my best.
You're doing a great job, man. Before we get out of here, I have a couple questions that I asked everybody. And the first one is, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned as a nurse? Something that maybe you could pass on to future hospital workers.
Okay, so not in any particular order, but get your shit done. Like, don't sit on anything. Don't be like, oh, things are chill, I can kind of put that off, do it later. Get your stuff done, no matter what level of nursing you're at. You're on the floor, you're in the ER. You got tasks to do, get them done. Get them done as fast as possible. Done right, though. Don't, do it half-assed or whatever, but get it done. do it well. And so you're always prepared. You never know what's going to come in. Whether you're on the floor, you never know if you're going to have to, oh, now you got to transfer your patient off, get a new one. Oh, now I'm behind on all my med pass or whatever. And in the ER, we know people come through the lobby and the medics all the time. So ER, I think it's kind of like we're programmed to get it done. But even before I came, like I was one that always just got my stuff done as soon as I could. Just get it done. And that was probably PTSD from Florida.
Yeah,
Florida will give you PTSD, guys. If you got some commenters in here from Florida, go ahead and leave your comments. Like, Florida, you'll get PTSD from that place, bro.
Yeah, you gotta get it quick. You gotta get it done quick because you know there's another assignment right around the corner.
Yeah.
You know,
Florida,
some of the shit's about to happen.
Yeah, Florida will make you or break you as a nurse. I think. The other thing is hustle. I mentioned this earlier. I tell all the new nurses that I'm either orienting or precepting, even my wife, because my wife is a fairly new nurse, and she, I gave her some advice, but I was like, hustle. I was like, they can forgive a lot if you're a hard worker and a hustler. And I'm sure you understand what I'm saying is, if you forget something, whatever, but it's like, God, such a hard worker, like that's nothing. Don't even worry about that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that, Rowan. Like I got it for you. And just hustle. They're gonna love you so much for your level of hustle and hard work.
They will.
And you're not doing this for the hospital and for admin. I'm hustling because of, you, Steve, my coworker, or Johnny, or, Jordan, Becky, Gabe, whoever else, you know what I mean? Rich, Javin, yes.
I think especially if you're new on the unit, like your demeanor says everything. We can tell like what type of work you are by the demeanor that how you carry yourself in the ER.
Yeah.
And that's right. Like if you're hustling, like, yeah, we're gonna forgive a lot. We're actually more prone to help you.
Right.
If you're hustling.
Right.
But if you got like, a terrible attitude, I don't know what's going on, you're being a little lazy, you're being a little shit. Yeah. Like we're not.
Or you're a mad talker, and
you're a mad talker. Yeah, we're gonna let you.
Bro, I don't even know your name. Go grab some fucking ID. Go grab some fucking tunes, bro.
Yeah, go make yourself useful. It's on the energy, man. You could tell. Like if you've done it long enough, you could tell who's about it and who's just not.
That's what I do. I don't think about it. I don't even look at the clock most of the time. I just keep busy, and just try my best. And
that's so important, man. Because I've worked with nurses who I've seen, they just start off with this terrible attitude. Like you could tell when they give a report. Right. They have so many questions. Like, why isn't this done? Why didn't you do this? And it's just like, dang, man, this is how we're gonna start the day. You're just upset.
And added on to report, don't be a fucking report Nazi. God damn, that's the worst thing in the world. Yeah. Fuck, we're here for 24 hours. Like when I come on, it's like, hey, what you got? This is me. Hey, what you got? Oh, I got this patient, chest pain. We sent everything. All right, next one. Like, even on the floor, it's like, just, don't be a fucking report Nazi. You don't have to know every goddamn little thing. Just know why they're there, and just ask if there's anything crazy that you need to know. Like, fucker tries to, bungee jump out of the bed or whatever. Like, just, that's all. Like, don't be one of those freaking people that everybody's like, oh shit, I got to give report to so-and-so. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just be cool.
Like, there are those people. You're like, I have to give a report to this person. Yeah. You don't want to be that person, right? Like,
no, don't be that person. Like, for any nurse, like, you don't have to know every little goddamn thing. Like, you just need to know why they're there, maybe what the plan is, and then go look at the H&P and go look at the labs yourself. Like,
yeah, go look at the patient yourself.
Yeah, go look at the patient. Like, I wouldn't trust the labs in anything anyway. I still would want to go look at them myself. So you're doing that anyway. So why put this? Let your coworker give report and get out of there. What keeps nurses going, what keeps, I think, our career going is our coworkers. That's what keeps people in the unit. People don't leave because of coworkers, and most of the time people stay. Like the reason why there is still freaking nurses in the ER is because of their team.
Exactly.
And you're doing this for your coworkers. You're doing this to set yourself up good for the shift. Make sure everybody has a good shift as much as possible. We're always constantly, hey, you need anything? We're always doing that in our ER. How you doing? Yeah. Your patient's okay? You need something?
I tell people all the time because they always ask me, you ever think you're going to go back to the ER? And I'm like, I don't necessarily miss the ER work, but man, do I miss the people.
Yeah.
The people you work with.
You feel like you're on some fucking like front lines, I mean, I was only in the Air Force. I never got to front lines, but you do have that kind of like brotherhood feel, like you guys been through some shit together.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see how you miss that because I would miss that.
Yeah. You just miss the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Of being with those people.
Absolutely.
But I don't necessarily, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. You don't do it for admin. You don't do it necessarily for anybody else but your coworkers.
Yeah. You're there for your coworkers and the patients,
And the patients, absolutely. Of course. Do you have at the top of your head a funny patient interaction you could possibly share with us without getting in trouble or violating HIPAA?
I was looking at that question. I was like, man, I had just so many, and I can't. Sucks. I mean,
If you can't, that's fine.
I got funny ones,
understand.
but they're like not appropriate, kind of
Oh yeah, we like those.
like patients
Most of them are not appropriate. You have no idea. Like when I do these comedy shows and like the people who come up to me talk to me after, like I always get a random story that's just so inappropriate, and we're in the middle of like a plaza. There are children around. Like the last story I got, a lady came up to me and said, I was in the ER, and an older Chinese man came in with his 14-year-old son. The man could not speak English. The son wouldn't talk, but he looked guilty. And so the father had to use Google Translate to tell them that his son was watching porno and stuck a cucumber up his butt, and now it's stuck there. And the nurse was like, oh, okay. And a few minutes later, the son pops out of the bathroom, cucumber in hand, and goes, I pooped it out. He spoke English. And that was the story. I'm like, this is insane.
Oh, man. I've had patients masturbate to another staff worker, co-staff. And, mental health patient. He's schizophrenic, all that stuff. He was off his meds a little bit, came in through the crisis. And apparently we didn't know because we were working. And the pods, like I said, is like a horseshoe. So they can see kind of like our middle area. And I went to check on him. Or them, let's say it's not him, but whatever. I went to check on them, and I was like, what's going on here? And he just had a big old mess all over his gown. And then I kind of looked at his view, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what you doing? He was like, oh, it's good. I'm good. I'm like, you look good. It's like, did you just, what's going on there? He's like, oh, and he just told me straight. He's like, I play with my dick. I masturbated. And yeah, I'm feeling good now, basically, and not so much words. And I went to that nurse later, and I'm like, you made someone extremely happy tonight.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my God. It's like I told them what happened, and they're just like grossed out, like not even knowing that someone probably was watching for like 10 or 15 minutes and just going at it. And
that's what will surprise people who don't work in the ER, that some of these patients who come in, some of them are just not shy about what they're doing.
Right.
Like, what were you doing? Oh, I was masturbating. Yeah, I feel good. I'm like,
yeah, no, fine.
You're in the hospital.
Yeah. It's like,
don't
the voices told me whatever. Yeah, one of the voices told him or whatever, or I mean, what level of schizophrenia he was at, but it's just like completely normal, completely fine. Oh yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Stood up, just dropped their gown, butt ass naked, fucking spooge all over their gown, and like, let me get you another gown, bro. I'll be right back. Like, and that's the level of response like people at other jobs don't understand. I just like. It's so matter of fact. I just look at him like, okay, I'll get you another gown, and just like walked away.
Yeah, it's like,
this is just another night at the ER. So
yeah,
like, whatever.
It's like, well, I'm busy over here. So you good? I'm just getting you a gown. Can you chill? Are you okay now?
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure nothing was going on.
Right. It's just that level. Or like when the new grad nurses come, and when you're a brand new nurse in the ER, everything is just so overwhelming. So like we maybe just code somebody, and maybe they didn't make it or whatever, and so we're cleaning up, and they're just kind of like super emotional and everything else. And then this is like, okay, so we're just gonna finish this up, and I think we got snacks in the break room. And then like she's like, we're shifting gears. We're like, you want to go get snacks right now? I'm like, yeah, sure, right now. We just we're finishing up here. Time for snacks. Let's go. And just trying to like get in them to engage. And like now it's funny because the same nurse a year and a half later is like, is there snacks in the break room? Like, just like, because she's like,
that's
initially she's like, I can't believe we're doing this.
Yeah, but that's the best though, that's absolutely what they need. Like, they're trying to process it. They don't know how to respond. Right. I think there was a moment for me too. I was in a trauma with one of my coworkers who I might have told this story already, but I was new and I was very tense working on the trauma. I was like cutting off the patient's clothes and trying to get a blood pressure cuff on them. And I guess he saw, one of my coworkers, his name's Rod, he saw that I was like really tense. He was putting in an IV on the patient, hooked it up to the bag of saline, and just kind of splashed me with the saline to be like, hey man, it's going to be okay, And it was just
probably reset you. And it kind of just...
It did.
Like, oh, okay, yeah. And you're right, because you get so lost in your mind. You get so lost in that, like, just that cycle of like, and then everything goes blank and you're like, not sure what you got to do next. And, and then
Yeah, it helped me refocus. I'm like, okay, yeah, it helped me relax, and I became a better worker. But you need
You
moments
do.
like that from people who are so like you, right? Who've done it a long time, who you respect, who's not just dicking around to be joke around for like no reason. You're like, listen, like, it's gonna be okay. I got you.
I had those experiences when I was a brand new nurse in ER too. Like we had so much good nurses on night shift with us and even day shift too. But like I have most of my experience working with night shift nurses. So they got me where I need to be. I got some great experienced nurses, Johnny, Becky, Gabe, just my coworkers, just, when I something like stressing out, I'm kind of spinning a little bit. They're like, hey, it's all good, man. Just, go grab this, and kind of
Yeah.
refocus me.
Exactly. Right? Because you're not always going to be like your best self. You work in the ER. It's stressful. So like it's good to have coworkers who realize, hey, Rowan's not doing too good right now. Like we should help him out.
Well, and those like nurses that like think they're young and those kind of meaner. It's like my biggest thing is like, you know what? In the ER, everything's so stressful. Be kind to each other. Be forgiving. Be kind. Everybody's not coming. They're not like optimal one day. The most best experienced badass nurse in the ER will have an off day, and I'll help them and pick up the slack for them. And just be kind. Our level of stress throughout the shift is on the next level. And until you work in the ER, you don't understand that as a nurse. There's nothing to compare to it. You have to be adaptable. You're shifting gears constantly. You don't have like ICU has its own level of stress, but on the floor for the most part, you set up you kind of know how your shift's gonna go. You time manage, set that up, and this is coming from working on the floor. I understand all that. But in the ER, you gotta be so adaptable. You gotta be ready to shift gears. You gotta be ready, and just that alone adds a level of stress. It takes a while to get used to. Yeah,
for sure. And last question, because you are, I asked this to everybody. I have a series online, tips from the ER. So
right.
you coming from Maui, do we have a tips from the Maui ER?
Yeah.
What do you wish patients knew about the emergency room before they got in?
I'm sure people say this all the time to you, but obviously it's not first come, first serve in the ER ever. It is level of, I would say, acuity, and for layman's terms, level of sickness, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So I am sorry if you came in for your thumb injury and you've been waiting for 3 hours. People coming in with cardiac events, respiratory, they're going to be seen before you. So be patient. That being said, we get compliments all the time on like how fast, at least we'll get the workup going. We'll make sure everything's going and we're just waiting for the doctor. Another tip is, guys, I understand that COVID has made everybody a little scared, but if you got flu, stay the fuck home. Like, why are you? If you can't breathe, fine, come to the ER. But if you vomited, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you vomited 3 times since 10 p.m. and you got a little fever, stay home. Like, I've never come to the ER for the flu. Never, even before I was a nurse. I've only been a nurse since 2014. Like, I've never come to the ER for anything other than I have to get my appendix. Like, you don't need to come in. It is fine, guys. What else? Babies, kids, treat that fever. Don't bring your kids in and be like, so did you give them Tylenol, Motrin? Oh no, we didn't give them anything because we wanted you guys to see that they have a fever. Like, don't do that, guys. Give your baby some medicine. Like, follow the directions of the Tylenol. Manage that fever. If you still want to bring them in because you're a new parent, you're not sure, well, you're fine. But like, just do that kind of stuff. Don't be coming into the ER for urgent care stuff, guys. Like,
that's the thing. That's such a big problem we have with like public health. Like they just don't know. I think one of my more viral videos was the exact same thing you just said. Hey, give the kid medicine. Don't let them suffer. The Tylenol, the Motrin, we will believe you. Like, like it's even better that you did it and brought them in so you could leave faster.
Right. Especially if it's obvious. Like if it's obvious, like people were sick in the home, they caught the flu or whatever viral illness is going on, and they're running a fever because of that. Like, it's more likely it's not ear. It's more likely not in the ear, UTI, and like that. Like, yeah, bring them in if you want. I mean, we're probably just gonna give them Tylenol, and then the doctor's gonna assess and we're gonna discharge, and then you'll have that $100 copay or whatever. But if that makes you feel better and brings on that's fine. Bring them in. But the other thing that is huge now is I feel like because when COVID shut everything down, the ER was their only resource that a lot of people had to go to because doctors wouldn't see them if they had any symptoms because no one would just go to the ER. Like, they'd be intimidated by it. I feel like people lost that intimidation of the ER. So now more so than before, people are using it as like an urgent care because they have to go during COVID and they're like, oh, it's not as intimidating or scary as I thought. It's almost like going to the doctor's office, in some way. And so like, at least us, I can't say this for ERs nationwide, but I feel like people come in now for urgent care things like more so than before. Like they just like, oh, ER is nothing. Yeah, we just go to the ER for everything. And
They've built up a level of comfortability coming to the ER
that's a perfect way to say it. Yes.
for
yes.
things that were not emergency room related.
No. Yeah, like they would
Yeah.
never have come before. But since they've been there once, they know the routine, they know the process, and they're like, oh, okay.
It's actually easier than making an appointment
It is, yeah.
with your primary care doctor or any other doctor, right? And like,
Yeah.
I understand how annoying it is. Like, you have to see your primary care. The primary care has to refer you to get an X-ray, so you have to do like 3 different appointments. As opposed to you come to the ER, it's like, I need an X-ray.
Yeah.
Like, you might be able to get one that day.
You right? Yeah. Well, and only recently, within like the last 8 months, maybe longer, I'm not exactly sure on the timetable, but so we have urgent care for our HMSA, HMAA members on the island, and we have urgent care for our Kaiser members. Our hospital is actually owned by Kaiser, but it's a conglomerate. It's like called Maui Health Systems. Like Kaiser runs it, but we take all the insurances. And they only really started seeing patients with symptoms like not even that long ago. I mean, we've been out of COVID for like 3 years now or 2 years now, and they really only started like within the last year. So we would get anybody with any symptoms that wanted to be seen by a doctor would end up coming to the ER, and we get like overloaded with all these people that just wanted to get swallowed or get seen, or and yeah, they wouldn't see them. If you had a cough, they're like, oh, you have COVID, you can't come into the urgent care.
That was most recently?
Yeah, they only recently like started seeing people with any kind of like cold symptoms within the last
so
10
annoying.
months. Yeah, super annoying. Yeah.
So that's a huge reason why everyone's coming to the ER, because nobody else would see them.
Yeah,
for the past...
I mean, maybe they do a telehealth, but like, how can you really give them a Z-Pack, I guess, and tell them to take Tylenol, but you're not listening to their lungs. You don't know. You're not checking their oxygen. You're not, it's like, you don't know their fever. So that's what made them even more comfortable, because they all came in for everything to the ER. So now we got all these people.
Dude, you're friggin', everyone outside the ER milked that for too long. It's 2023.
Right. It is 2023. It's like, what's going on, guys? Come on, man. Yeah.
But yeah, I totally agree with you, man. Rowan, this has been such a good conversation.
Oh, thanks, brother. It's good talking with you, man.
Yeah, man. I'm so happy you came on and did this, and so happy to get to know you. And again, like, I just want to reiterate, man, your coworkers love you. Like the amount of great things that they said about you, I really hope you know how much they love you.
I'm a little kind of embarrassed, but surprised, and just, well, I'm glad. It's nice to know that you try hard and people kind of notice it, and at the same time, you're kind of embarrassed, right? Because I'm not the kind of person to like get recognition or like just go in and work. That's all I do.
Yeah, so, but man, you deserve it so much.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Deserve it. So again, man, good luck with everything out there. You are a positive impact for your community, for Maui, and for everyone that works with you, man. I'm so happy I got to meet you. You are a badass motherfucker.
Thanks, brother. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Bringing awareness to nursing. Keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. I don't know if everybody told you, but we do appreciate it. We need that awareness. Maybe hopefully one of these days we can get nationwide ratio laws put in, or out of everything. That would be so nice. I think nurses as a whole would just keep that awareness going. You, Blake, all those other guys, John. Yeah, keep it going.
Will do, man.
Right on, brother. Thank you so much. You have a great day, bro.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Motherfucker podcast. If you have a coworker who you believe is a badass motherfucker, head over to badassmotherfucker.com to nominate them. My goal is to highlight and share more stories of healthcare workers doing exceptional work in their community who deserve a little bit more recognition. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please give us a like, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Hell, slide into my DMs and tell me yourself. I can't wait to bring more stories your way. But until then, keep being the badass motherfucker that you are.